We are live. You're okay to go ahead now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to call the meeting of council of April 13th, 2021 to order, please. Could I remind everybody, including myself, to turn their ringers off, etc., which I've just done there. Land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional territory of Indigenous peoples who've been stewards of the land since time immemorial, and as such, we treat the land, its plants, animals, stories, and people with honor and respect. So we'll play Old Canada now. Thank you. I would ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. My comments for the day. So good afternoon again. It was slightly over a month ago at our last council meeting that I commented on the relative good position our region was in with respect to COVID-19 cases. We were one of the few health units that remained in the green with no imminent changes in sight. Well, how things have changed and how they have changed very rapidly. Prior to the very recent provincial lockdown / stay-at-home order, our public health unit had increased restrictions due to a many tenfold active increase in our area. And the modeling suggested that the situation would continue to deteriorate. This was then, of course, followed by the new provincial order as case counts exploded throughout the province. We're all quite aware of the detrimental effect and hardship that this places on everybody. Everything from homeschooling, access to childcare, operating your business, and going to public spaces are all affected, plus the mental well-being of so many individuals. So once again, I ask everyone to follow provincial and public health requirements, if not for the benefit of yourself, but for the benefit of our entire community. As vaccine distribution continues to ramp up and people follow the rules, the current restrictions will end quicker. For those that don't adhere, the current situation will be drawn out and possibly even forcing more restrictive measures. The town will continue to assess our local situation and act accordingly. As of now, plans remain in effect to open our parks with signage reflecting the new guidelines. Work will commence shortly on major alterations to the Hawk Watch at Eagle's Nest Park, with a tentative date of opening the park for the May long weekend. Progress continues with the renovations at the Club 580 building that will add desperately needed daycare spaces and a youth center, hopefully opening in the next couple of months. The town is still actively working on moving forward with the many development projects that are on our plate, but COVID-related delays are more the norm than the exception today. As many are aware, COVID has spurred an unprecedented boom in renovation and building activity. This has not only resulted in a scarcity of building supplies, but an escalation of prices over 2 times the norm. We've also seen a dramatic increase in requests for minor variances, zoning changes, and inquiries regarding potential developments. So I ask those individuals involved in any of these activities to submit the necessary paperwork well in advance and to be patient as lead times are stretching out much further than normal. So in closing, I once again stress the need for everyone to follow the rules, receive your vaccination, and be respectful of others so we can get back to normal that much quicker. So, thank you very kindly. So declaration of pecuniary interest, approval of the agenda. Be it resolved that the council of the corporation, the town of Bancroft, is hereby approve of the open session agenda dated April 13th, 2021 as presented. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Barry McGibbon and Councillor Wiggins. All in favor? Thank you. Pass. Declaration of pecuniary interests and nature thereof.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I didn't have my hand up first. Sorry,
Okay.
Tracy.
Will we have anybody left? I saw a lot of hands. Okay, Tracy, first.
Item number 10A. It's regarding the
Millennium Park seasonal rental.
Yeah, got it.
I declared a conflict or a pecuniary interest at the last committee of whole when this discussion came up, and feel that I should continue to do so in this meeting as well.
Fine, thank you. Barry, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, and I'll declare the same.
Okay, thank you. Val.
Under the consent agenda 13, item E,
Okay. Let me get there. Okay,
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
I would gladly comment, but I don't think I should vote one way or the other on it, but I can provide any information that anybody may have.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you kindly. Okay. Now we scroll back up to where we are here in the agenda. Okay, so today we have Dwayne Forth from Veolia for the presentation of the annual report. So Dwayne, where are you? There you are.
I'm here. Yep.
Okay. I was going to say the floor is yours, but the screen is yours. So fire away.
Okay. I'm not sure if you've all read the reports, looked at them.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions before? Because
Dwayne, what's your plan? Are you planning to give us some info, or is it strictly based on questions that we might have?
I think to save time, I think it'd just be questions, right?
Whatever you want.
you-
If you want to make any general comments, please feel.
I could. The water plant is working well. We haven't had any adverse, of course, or you would know about that already. And we've been fortunate so far this year that we haven't had too many breaks, just one pretty good one in front of the Catholic school, and then another minor one over by the tower. But last year, things went fairly well. I think we had two main breaks last year as well. So, and one was on Cleek, which was a nasty one. We had to report AWQIs, which is adverse water quality, only because we lost all pressure. The whole line broke and we had to take a big section out. And so when you lose all pressure like that, you have to file an AWQI to the ministry. But staffing is good. So we got no issues there. They continue to advance in their certificates and their licenses. Ashley is now overall responsible operator for the water side, which makes her lead operator, which is very comfortable for Perry. Perry's very happy about that. We don't have to call in another operator from another part of Veolia to support that position. So we're good there. Wastewater plant's doing well. Lots of stuff still to fix and to bring up to speed, and to get ready for re-rating when that happens. That's hopefully something that we'll be able to do soon. But yeah, everything's going fine. So if you have any specific questions, please go ahead and ask.
So I did have one question, Dwayne, and this might be for Perry, reading the report and looking at energy consumption with respect to the water plant, of course, the comment was made about the roof and now that it's been replaced. So when I was reading through that, I was wondering, did we actually insulate that as well when we put it in?
It's the same type of roof that went on the arena a while back. And I'm not sure if that one's insulated or not, but I think the panels themselves have got a good quality to them. I think just the fact that we've stopped all the holes in the water from leaking through, and no more squirrels getting in and running around. And I think just that fact itself is going to make more energy efficient, that room. I mean, the electrical heaters themselves are very inefficient. I mean, each one is like 2 or 3 commercial clothes dryers, right? That's how much energy they consume. So that's something that could be looked at in the long term. Can we go to natural gas or propane out there? Propane heaters, would that be cheaper? Not quite sure, but that's something that can be looked at.
Perry, you wanted to answer that about the roof?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and council and staff and all the gallery that's joining us. Yes, the roof reinstall was completed in a timely manner with the new style of roof that's on it. They pulled all the old existing roof peeling back out. The existing insulation was in there, was saturated due to the numerous leaks. So there is a new a layer of insulation in the whole entire top of the roof. There was some heat loss escaping around the outside frame of the building where the walls meet the roof. That was not in the original tender document, but our contractor made me aware of that, and I okayed the time and material to have that work completed as well. The other two major upgrades that we're doing at the water plant as well is the garage door that was probably the existing door that was put on that building when it was built. I've okayed the contractor from MADOC to install new insulated door with an automatic opener on it too. So that'll aid in the heat loss as well. And plus it'll make it a lot safer for the staff that are using that big door, because it was always used to be opened up by hand. And Dwayne has made me aware of the heater situation within the building too. We will be looking at that, pricing it out, and possibly bringing it forward for capital in 2022 to have those upgrades done. I do realize that they are electric heaters and they are power suckers. So if there is a way that we could get some efficient propane heaters in there of some sort, see if we can find some benefits with some free propane like they pass out for anybody switching from oil or electric heaters to propane. So I'll be reporting to our committee or committee of the whole later on in the year with that as well.
Thank you, Perry. Anybody else have any questions on anything? So Dwayne, nothing else you wanted to add there? Oh, Barry McGibbon?
Yeah, I just was curious about our water infiltration, how it's going, and if this spring with the runoff being short, if we'll see a difference in that type of thing, or does the runoff have much effect on it?
You're going to see an overall average flow for the year probably lower than last year, because we've had very little runoff. Infiltration, high flows have been limited to just maybe 1 or 2 days. So we've been quite fortunate this spring so far. Now, I'm assuming we're going to get some heavy rain days between now and summer, but we've got no snow to melt to go with it. So we're going to be in good shape.
Well, and Councillor McGibbon, we're also looking at doing some upgrades down at the the wastewater plant that would facilitate that with bypass, and Dwayne's very diligent on making certain that we have the correct tools in place to combat any of that. We don't want to treat any more material than we have to, and if it's rainwater in the heavy levels, then we want to be certain that we don't treat that unnecessarily. And another point to make too, I think when we do the construction on Main Street in 2022, I think that will really help alleviate a lot of the stormwater getting into the sanitary sewer as well, dedicating it to the stormwater itself. One of the major contributors with the infiltration as well last year was a commercial building on Main Street, and they were very how do I say it? They wanted to work well with us, and the building was originally built with the stormwater and the sanitary sewer together. It's historically the way most of the older buildings were built. They put a fair bit of time and effort and money into taking that the roof stormwater off of the roof and putting it right into the stormwater management itself. So all those little things are contributing factors to helping us treat less water and less infiltration.
Thank you, Perry. So the motion before us is be it resolved the Council of the Corporation of Town of Bancroft does hereby receive the annual reports for water and wastewater for information purposes only. Could I have a mover and a second? Moved by Councillor Miles and seconded by.
She has a question.
Yeah.
Actually, I just had a very quick comment. Dwayne, in your report, there's a comment about some access stairs and the ladder being removed. Are they like in terrible condition, never could be reused, never could be?
Access stairs, access ladder for the digester?
Yeah.
Well, the digester currently has a 30-foot ladder straight up with a cage around it. It's not safe for my staff to be climbing up there on their own.
Fair enough. Never mind.
And
Forget.
there's a long-term plan to put a set of stairs there.
Very good. Thank you. Answers what the thing was in my head. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else? So all in favor of receiving? Passed. Thank you. Item 7, minutes of the previous session. Be resolved that the Council of the Corporation of Town of Bancroft is hereby approve the minutes of the meetings of council held on March 8th, 2021, March 9th, 2021, March 23rd, 2021, and March 30th, 2021 as presented. Could I have a mover and a seconder on that, please? Councillor Miles, Councillor Barry McGibbon. Any comments or questions on those? Seeing none, all in favor, please. Thank you. Pass. Minutes of standing committees and verbal updates. Item A, Committee of the Whole. Be it resolved that Council of the Corporation of the Town of Bancroft does hereby approve of the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held on March 22nd, 2021 as presented. Could I have a mover and a seconder on that, please? Councillor Caulfield and Councillor Miles. Should I vote on these individually, Leanne, these two resolutions?
Sorry, yes, please.
Okay. Is there any comments or questions on that? All in favor, please? Pass. Thank you. Be it resolved that council form a building, property, and bylaw committee in accordance with the terms of reference to be determined. Could I have a mover and a seconder on that, please? Councillor Wiggins moves. Deputy Mayor Mullet seconds. All in favor? Thank you. Leanne, do we have an actual bylaw following for the appointments? Okay.
There's a bylaw included at the end of the meeting for the appointments, and the terms of reference can be set after the first meeting of the committee.
Okay, thank you. Item B, Bancroft Community Safety and Wellbeing Committee. Be it resolved the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Bancroft does hereby approve of the Bancroft Community Safety and Wellbeing Committee meeting held on March 24th, 2021 as presented. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Deputy Mayor, you'll move that. Second it, please. Councillor Wiggins. Would you like to comment on that, Deputy Mayor?
Yes, I would, Your Worship. I had a good meeting. He had a presentation, as you can see, from about 211 presentation, and it was very well received. And I think we all learned an awful lot that the 211 can suffice and can present an awful lot of information once people start to use it. There's the detachment update, not an awful lot of changes there. The other one that came into being was we'd received a letter from the Honorable Sylvia Jones, Solicitor General, And in regarding the new governance for detachments, and as we didn't have an awful lot of information, we had asked for a letter to be sent away to her saying we needed more time. But in the meantime, I had called a meeting of Backpack, and we had a presentation from the ministry at that meeting. And Leanne was there as well. She sat in on it. And so I think we found out that the ministry, really what they want to know is, will we take part, will we be a part of the new detachment police services board when it comes into being? And so that comes through council, and we should be a part of it. And as well, you've mentioned, you sent me an email, just there's another Zoom meeting with the ministry coming up at the end of the month, which I have asked to sit in on. So I should have more information when that is with. So with the letter, that the resolution we have there, I don't know whether we need it now or not, but we can. You want to discuss that?
I'll do the resolution after we approve of this. Okay.
Okay, that's all. Unless someone else has questions.
Any questions for the deputy mayor? Seeing none, all in favor, please. Thank you. Passed. And the resolution that followed as a result of the meeting is, be it resolved that council direct staff to prepare a letter to the Honorable Sylvia Jones, Solicitor General, with respect to acquiring more information on the new Ontario Provincial Police OPP detachment boards under the Community Safety and Policing Act 2019, copying MPP Darrell Krant. I have a mover and a second to put it on the floor, please. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Wiggins. So are you saying this is not necessary now? Or
well, in my opinion, I don't think it is. I would like to ask clerk to speak on that. I know she's been with discussion with the ministry as well. Leanne, what's your opinion?
Absolutely. I think that given the meetings that we had with the representatives from the Solicitor General, that I'm confident, and I think, Deputy Mayor Mullet, that you're confident in what we're required to do at this point as well, which is to express our interest in sitting on the board and to confirm that one seat for the town of Bancroft is sufficient. And going forward, there'll be additional information coming out to municipalities with respect to the composition of the board with the provincial representatives, the community representatives, and then more details on the training and how appointments will take place. So that'll be forthcoming. They do plan to have these boards up and running in September. I'm not sure if there'll be changes to that time frame as we move forward. But I feel like we have the information that we need to make the decision at this time. We've received to date interest from, or confirmation from, one of our neighbors confirming that they intend to take part and agree that one seat per municipality is appropriate. So we have asked that the other municipalities in North Hastings and Highlands East provide direction to the same effect. So we'll wait for that. We have until June 6th to do that.
okay. Thank you. So we should vote this resolution down. So all in favor? Okay. We're going to vote this one down, Val, because they don't need it. I'll start again. My lip reading isn't that great either, Val. So,
Sorry.
Okay. All in favor? Seeing none, the motion is defeated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Minutes of local boards and committees. Item A, North Hastings Heritage Museum, be it resolved. The Council of the Corporation Town of Bancroft is hereby receive the minutes of the Bancroft North Hastings Heritage Museum meeting held on March 24th, 2021 as presented. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Wiggins, seconded Councillor Barry McGibbon. Councillor Wiggins, would you like to speak to this, please?
Yes, I'd like to add a couple of items to it, if I might, or highlight. The museum is still closed, COVID, of course. However, there is curbside pickup if you call ahead for our books, calendars between 10 and 4, and also for anybody who wants to make any donations with all the COVID protocols in place. The one other item I'd like to mention is on March the 19th, a New Horizons grant for seniors of $23,333 and maybe 33 cents, I'm not sure, will be used to produce volume number 3 of Seniors Childhood Memories, another fundraiser for the community, for the museum. And again, I'd like to thank Mike Daly's operation for sponsoring a weekly article in the paper on history provided by the museum. Other than that, I'd entertain any questions anyone has.
Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor of accepting, please? Passed, thank you.
Thank you.
Item B, North Hastings Community Center Arena Commission. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Bancroft is hereby received the minutes of the North Hastings Community Center Arena Commission meeting held on March 10th, 2021 as presented. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Miles moves, seconded by Councillor Caulfield. Councillor Miles, would you like to speak to this, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, you know, the arena sort of had its brief moment to open again, and then we were shut down with the brakes being put on. So the ice has been taken out. It was sort of one of those places where, you know, some of our community could gather. So that's too bad. But you know, we can only do what we can do. We are still navigating through our letter of intent with the Bancroft Family Health Team for Jim. We're working through really trying to figure out the best way to keep fire exits in place for the safety of our community. So we still have that a little bit up in the air. The Arena Commission has agreed to provide support to a COVID vaccine clinic should it come to the neighborhood. So watch for that. We weren't sure about timing or when it would be. And as we all know, some of the clinics are running throughout the province, but should they come to Bancroft, the Arena has agreed to provide space to the health authorities. Really, that's about it. We don't have much more going on with the Arena.
Okay, I'll just add to that. So of course, the clinics are running right now at the Legion. I think the thought is, and I'm not sure this, that if they're required to move, that the Arena is available. So anyway, any other questions for Councillor Miles? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you, passed. Next, Bancroft Business Improvement Area Board of Management. Be it resolved, the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Bancroft is hereby received the minutes for the Bancroft Business Improvement Area Board of Management meeting held on February 25th, 2021 as presented. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Caulfield, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Councillor Caulfield, please speak to this.
There really isn't too much in here. Most of this is old news, and we've already dealt with most of the things in this report. There was lots of chatter about the seasonal business, which is going to come up later today. There was also lots of conversation about budgeting and all that good stuff. So we've already addressed most of the items from this report, and there really isn't anything left in the report that you're not already aware of. But if you have questions, I'd happily entertain them.
Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. So item 10, unfinished business, seasonal business in the town of Bancroft. So we have the councillors Barry and Tracy McGibbon declaring on this item. Leanne, just a question of clarification. Is quorum now the 5 individuals left for the purposes of voting?
That's correct.
Thank you. Just wanted to be sure on that. Okay. Okay, so we have before us the report here. There is no resolution to go with this. So Leanne, did you want to address this, please?
Your Worship, I have updated the agenda with a resolution, so it may not be showing if you didn't refresh today. The suggested resolution is that council does hereby permit the use of Millennium Park for seasonal businesses for the 2021 summer season in accordance with the procedures set out in the April 13th, 2021 staff report.
Could I have a mover and a seconder to put that on the table, please? Councillor Wiggins, and seconded by Councillor Caulfield. Did you want to go over any of those, the procedures, or what you feel? Go ahead.
I think the report speaks for itself. I've included as well correspondence received from Yummy Dog, which is the business that made the initial request. And then there's also correspondence that came Thursday from the BIA with another proposal for council's consideration. And we do have the chair and executive director of the BIA here if there are any questions on that. But I'm happy to entertain questions on the procedures set out in this report.
Okay, let's see if anybody has any questions, then we'll come back to the BIA proposal right after that. Okay. So does any Councillor Wiggins? Mute it.
Not clear on the background here, which will permit acquiring, by acquiring a permit each month to a maximum of two permits per month vendor in accordance with the policies previously set out. Will they be able to book 4 weekends for the month and then 4 weekends for another month? Is that what that reads?
Thank you, Councillor Wiggins. I'm happy to clarify that. Actually, if you look further down, I've suggested instead that we book the summer in 2 groups rather than monthly, just to try and cut down on the administration. So they would be booked a maximum of 2 permits a month, but vendors could request permits in 2 sets. So the first would be May 21st to July 15th, and the second being July 16th to Thanksgiving. So they would make their first request for May, June, and July, and we would award those so that people can plan in advance. If we wait and do it before each month, it makes it harder for vendors to plan their season in advance.
So what that would mean is a vendor could book a month in those first 3 and a month in the second 3.
No, 2 weeks.
They could book 2 weeks per month.
2 weeks, okay.
Yeah.
2 weeks, 3 months in a row though?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, just so I know.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's a good question. Thank you.
So Leanne, I had a question and a clarification I sent you earlier today. So, and I think this follows up on a comment that Councillor Miles made at the Committee of the Whole meeting. So if somebody has booked their 2 and the others are available, nobody has taken them, what's the mechanism for the person that has the 2 to be able to go back in and rebook, or is there a mechanism?
Yeah, so I've suggested that if all weekends are not filled during the initial call out period, then those weekends would be filled by those vendors wishing to operate during that period. And we would follow the same procedure that we would for the initial call out, where we would ask for their priority spots and then fill one by one until all the weekends are filled. And if there's competition, we would use the random number generator to assign those weekends.
Okay. Before we get to the BAA aspect, is there any questions by anybody on that?
One more question, if I might.
You may.
This is also just a trial again for this year, right? This isn't forever?
The recommendation by staff is that it be put in place for 2021 only.
Thank you.
So before we get to that, so we received a little confusion on this. I'll try to clarify it. So I'll try to speak too. We received a proposal from the BIA, and I'm going to make a comment on it, and then I will open it up to others to make a comment. So I do believe, the way I have read this, that it is not, these are not mutually exclusive, that because we accept one, that we could not accept the other one in this location or possibly in another location. I personally thought it was a fairly good proposal. So I don't know if anybody else has comments on that, but I view them almost independent of each other. So I wonder if anybody else has comments on that. Councillor Caulfield.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think the BBIA's proposal, it has nothing to do with actually being a vendor. They're not selling anything. They're just providing a space where people can take the food that they've purchased from wherever within the town and have a safe, enjoyable place to eat it outside of the front seat of their car. So I don't see that they're in competition with each other, as you've mentioned. I did have a question with regard to the weekend vendors. Since we don't have staff on weekends, would there be a call-in mechanism for a staff person if there was an issue or an emergency of some kind? And have we built that into a plan? And
that would follow our normal protocol for any concerns on the weekends, would go through the answering service or to an on-call, and then staff would be called in if necessary.
okay, thank you.
And to the BIA proposal, I did note separately, Your Worship, that staff have not had an opportunity to review the proposal or provide comments
Right.
as to the impact on the park that this proposal would have. So
Right.
if council wishes us to do that, that would have to come back to another meeting.
Yeah, I think what I was going to propose that was, that we look at this independently and have some discussion at that in the very near future, because I think it is an interesting proposal. And before and we'll put forth a resolution to that effect after we vote on this particular one here. But I'm just wondering if Lloyd, if you'd like to make any comments on it based on what you've heard us saying, et cetera. You're muted there, Lloyd.
Okay,
Oh, I was going to ask you, Lloyd, where Muriel was to
I'm
unmute you, but I
here.
see she's close by. Okay.
No, I haven't got any comments on it. I think of the different proposals that you're looking at. I think the final proposal that really hasn't been looked at yet, that Jody submitted, I think on last Thursday. I haven't had a great deal of time to spend on it for the last few days because I've been tied up in other things. But I think that I think our proposal had merit on it. It's one of the things, sometimes we think that it's too early to be thinking about what the summer is, what we're going to do, and what the COVID is going to create for us. But I think that we're headed in the right direction. But I think what I have to speak on behalf of the BIA is the fact that we're there to represent the businesses that presently are in the town of Bancroft, and those that submit the money to keep the organization going. They're the ones that we have to speak of and to. And I know there's been differences of opinion by one individual in particular, and she has the right to state her reasons and the things that's what she is planning to do. But I think you have to and should take time to look at the proposal that Jody sent in at the end of the week. And I thought Jody was going to be on here and speak behalf of the organization. I don't know whether she's available or not, but
She's here.
she can speak more diligently to this than I can because of the fact that she's been more involved with it than I have been. So I would like to have Jody make any comments that she wants, if she can be tied in. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Jody, would you like to make a comment? She was there.
I am here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's there.
So, I actually, good afternoon, Mayor Jenkins, council staff and gallery. I thought I would have an opportunity as the board directed me to speak to you about this and to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you about this. But it appears that you would like some time to look at it more carefully. But I would at this point like to say that the BIA board did bring this point up, and it was very briefly mentioned in a letter of March 1st that we sent. So it's not something that we just came up with as a group last week. And from the committee of the whole presentation that last we heard about the whole Millennium Park thing, it looked like you were asking staff to come back with recommendations. We didn't realize that this was so final. But I would like to urge you, and I'm sorry my camera's not working. It was when I first opened the meeting, but I shut it down. Is that there's an urgency to our request, because, you know, like, restaurants provide the opportunity for social interaction, and they are really important in shaping the economy and reflecting the character of our town. I mean, the major events of our lives, both professional and personal, are celebrated in restaurants. Acquaintances become friends in a safe and controlled environment over a meal. It happens all the time. And our visitors and residents are missing that. And our restaurants employ a lot of people. And our local eating establishments are places where people coming to town feel a sense of comfort and safety. And, you know, it's a cultural component that brings vitality to the streets, and we can't afford to lose our businesses. They're all in dire straits. There's a really urgent need for us to do something to support them. This isn't really just about restaurants, because, well, even though restaurants had their worst year in like 2 decades last year, 2021 is not getting any better. And if you really dive into our submission, you're going to see that the takeout hubs really been carefully planned. It meets health requirements, and it was set out to maximize benefits and minimize any additional impact on staff. So, you know, really the only thing that as we see it is that, you know, we'd ask that town staff continue to look after garbage as they do, and possibly top up the sanitizer when they're there opening up the bathrooms. And really, you know, whatever, I know that the park is in a state of flux, but whatever else is planned for it, we would hope that the perimeter of the park would be kept open for public use. And that, especially that pathway alongside the bandshell and over to the footbridge. What we're planning won't take away from that. In fact, it might even encourage foot traffic. We believe that it will. And we need to do something for businesses to encourage.
Jody, let me comment, please. I don't think anybody disagrees with anything you're saying. We view this as a little different than the other one, because we're viewing this independent of the original resolution that we've got on the table before us here. We did not have time to meet and to get the Chief Hoover involved, who of course looks after our parks, et cetera, so we can look at that. And as you mentioned, the most recent shutdown, lockdown, et cetera, just came upon us very quickly. So I'm going to put forth a motion shortly after we vote on the first one here for us to have a look at this, and we will look at it in a very timely manner. Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm very passionate about this. We can't afford to lose our businesses.
No, we agree. So, okay, so let's go back to the resolution that's on the table there regarding that staff had recommended the weekend use based on the parameters and the guidelines that they have put forth. Any comments on this before I call the vote on that? Councillor Miles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to clearly understand that if I'm a hawker and a peddler and I'm willing to jump through all the hoops and follow all the process and fill out all the forms, if nobody else uses that space on weekends, I might be there every weekend for the entire summer. Yes?
That's how I read it.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? And I think it's been noted, Councillor Wiggins, I think it's fair to say that based on the plans for the park, the construction, even just generally the road construction, that I think we all believe that this is not an option beyond this year. So just to clarify that. So all of those in favor of adopting and accepting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it passes. Okay. Now, could we have put forth a resolution?
Mayor Jenkins, may I speak for a minute?
Sorry, we just got to put forth the resolution on the BIA one first.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I'd like to put forth a resolution that the proposal that has been put forth by the BIA come to committee/council as soon as possible for evaluation and a path forward. So however you'd like to phrase that, Leanne. So could I have a mover on that, please? Councillor Caulfield, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Lloyd, would you care to add something else now that we have it on the floor?
Not regarding that, no.
Oh, I'm
Sorry,
sorry. I'm sorry. I thought it was regard. Okay, we'll vote on this and then I'll let you comment again. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor, please. Passes. Thank you. Sorry, Lloyd. I thought you wanted to talk on that.
Okay. No, I think that was pretty well covered as to what it can be at this time. But one other thing I'd just like to mention to council, and I don't know what your intent is this year, but you know, last year because of COVID, we didn't put out the park benches, or not the benches, the picnic tables. Neither did we put out the benches. And I noticed some other towns last year did put out their benches. And what I saw every day of the week, I think last summer, was we had no benches out, but families sitting on the ground, still having their picnics, still having their family gatherings, and no picnic tables. And I think it would be very simple to put out the picnic tables and make it more inviting. And we talk about allowing tables to eat meals on. It's also the families that are having picnics. And I do not believe seriously that the COVID would be more in a danger to us by allowing to have picnic tables in the town for the use of the people that wish to use them. And it doesn't make any sense to me not to allow them picnic tables, but they're allowed in the park to sit down and eat their meals and stuff. So what's the difference? And I just think that we need those tables out this year.
So Lloyd, we will definitely look at that in conjunction with the request from the BIA because it does involve tables. And I'll let Chief Hoover make a comment now, please.
Okay.
We actually did have picnic tables out last year in Millennium Park and in Churchill Park. They were set out to the far side of the park, and the garbage containers were with them there. We had over a dozen picnic tables out. Not our full complement of picnic tables due to COVID, but they were out and in place and sanitized and disinfected on a regular basis. The garbage cans were placed on the far side, so we did not pick up all of our neighboring municipalities' household waste. So just to clarify that they were out last year. However, the park benches on Main Street were not.
I think, Pat, we could let out a lot more than 12 picnic tables for the whole town.
Well, we have to follow the COVID compliance components that we have to follow with public health, and there was a lot of other municipalities that didn't do anything. So we're just running a fine edge and a balancing act on trying to meet all the requirements.
Thank you, and we will take everything under advisement. But as you say, Chief, we have to follow the rules, but we need to get people outdoors as well. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment in regards to the BBIA proposal. I read through it quite a couple of times. I thought it was very good, and I'm just wondering, could Chief Hoover have a report for us for our next meeting so that we can deal with it at that meeting at the committee as a whole?
I think we probably can do that. I think we need to have a little discussion first to give some guidance as to what the potential is and where we may want to go. But I think our hope is to bring something back for committee of the whole.
Does the chief have anything to say about it now?
Currently, one of the conflicts that will be with the proposed location is the fact that that's being considered for the Tamarack project for that was approved by council last fall for that area there for the mosaic stone piece that's being proposed by Maggie's. So we do have some competing projects that have already been proposed and approved.
Okay.
So, yeah, we need to look at
Thanks,
everything, Deputy Mayor, so we'll have a good look at that. So I think we have the motion on the floor. I don't think we voted on it yet, have we? No. Any other comments before we put that to a vote?
I'd like to say something, sorry.
Okay, shortly, quickly, please.
Yep. The health department officials that I spoke to strongly recommended these picnic tables that had a plastic surface because of the ability to sanitize them. So, you know, I think the wooden tables that we have, with all due respect, are not as safe. And if they were out in Churchill Park, which I did see a few down there, I thought there was only 4. With the laneways kind of blocked off, like it didn't seem like that was a picnic area to me.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you. We'll take that under advisement. So, okay, all in favor of the motion on the table, please? Passed. Thank you. Item 11, business, Rally of the Tall Pines report. Be it resolved that council authorizes the clerk to enter into a 2021-2022 Rally of the Tall Pines sponsorship agreement, and further that the event take place subject to staff and Hastings Prince Edward Public Health Unit approval of an appropriate COVID-19 plan prior to the event, recognizing that town reserves the right to request through discussion with the organizers that the event be modified or canceled if necessary due to COVID-19. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please, on that? Councillor Barry McGibbon and Councillor Miles. Any comments or questions on that from anybody? Seeing none, all in favor? Passed, thank you. Item B, close and convey portion of 66-foot unopened road allowance to the Corporation of the Township of Faraday. Be resolved, the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Bancroft approved to pass a bylaw pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001, Section 34(1), to close and convey to the Corporation of the Township of Faraday a portion of the 66-foot unopened road allowance between lots 6 and 7, concession A, geographic township of Faraday, now in the town of Bancroft, Hastings County, being more particularly described as parts 1, 2, and 3 on registered plan 21R-25804. Could I have a mover and a seconder on that, please? Councillor Deputy Mayor and Councillor Barry McGibbon. Robin, did you want to comment on this? I think this is about the 3rd time we've seen this, isn't it?
Good afternoon, Your Worship, members of council, staff, and those watching. Yes, this has come forward a couple of times to council. So now we're at the point where we can close and convey the municipal road allowance to Faraday Township. The unopened road allowance is in joint jurisdiction. It is forms the boundary between the town of Bancroft and the township of Faraday. Therefore, we need to close our portion of the unopened road allowance, which is 33 feet. Faraday will be closing their portion at a future meeting. As part of this, Faraday is responsible for all the fees associated with the closing and conveyance of the unopened road allowance, including but not limited to legal fees. Those portions that are being closed and conveyed can be seen on plan 21R-25804, I believe, shown as parts 1, 2, and 3. Notice of closure of the unopened road allowance was given as per the town's public notice policy, which included a published ad in Bancroft this week, which is also attached to report. The ad ran for 4 weeks. At this time of drafting the report, there were no claims received by the municipality from any individuals indicating that their lands would be prejudicially affected by the proposed bylaw. The bylaw authorizing the closing and conveyance of a portion of the 66-foot road allowance is on today's council agenda for adoption. And staff recommend that the road allowance be closed and conveyed to the township of Faraday.
Thank you, Robin. Is there any questions on that for Robin? Seeing none. Oh, I was too. Councillor Wiggins.
On the sketch there, Robin, is the building still located on part of in the town of Bancroft, or just on the right of way?
The building, I believe, is located within the municipal road allowance, which the town of Bancroft owns, which is the purpose for of closing and conveying those lands. But it does not fall upon town of Bancroft property other than the unopened road allowance.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? All in favor? Passed. Thank you. Thank you, Robin.
You're welcome.
Item C, asset management plan, single source. Be it resolved, the council does hereby approve the single sourcing to WSP Canada Inc. to complete the asset management plan requirement to meet the July 1st, 2022 compliance deadline not to exceed $175,000 before HST. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Caulfield, Councillor Miles, and Treasurer Bill. Would you like to chat on this, please?
Thank you, sir. Yes, I would, Mr. Mayor, Council, and staff and public. Yes, so I've previously sent a report on asset management and what it's all about. We're responding to Ontario's Regulation 5817 to develop an asset management plan for critical infrastructure, being roads, water, wastewater, bridges, etc. Previous deadline that I reported to was July 1st of this year, 2021. Since then, the government has extended by 1 year to July 1st, 2022. We have an internal team, the clerk, manager of public works, and myself. We used Greenview to put forth an RFP. We worked with Greenview to put forth an RFP. Went through the process. We actually had no takers. And subsequent to that, we had some discussions with different parties, one being WSP. We asked WSP to actually put a proposal forward based on kind of our discussions, and we did receive a proposal. We're happy with it. In the proposal, the work and reports will be completed late summer. We really think from a workload resource standpoint that we'd like to get this going. There's a lot kind of riding on this. 2022 will be a very busy year, especially for our manager of public works, and this project would really involve him. So sooner rather than later is our thought. So the output, not only will we be satisfying a compliance deadline, but we're going to have a working living document model that we can use, into the future as we roll forward. It's going to help to support operations in terms of prioritizing, et cetera, in a very objective way. Help us do some long-term financial planning and budgeting as well. And so the town recommends that council approve this single source.
Thank you.
Project.
Any questions for the treasurer? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you, passed. Item D, debt financing roll-off truck and trailer. The resolution is be it resolved that the council of the corporation of the town of Bancroft is hereby approve debt financing for the entire purchase amount of $190,000 pre-HST with respect to the roll-off truck and trailer for the town of Bancroft as presented. Could I have a mover and a seconder on this, please? Councillor Wiggins and Deputy Mayor, and go ahead, Bill, again on this one.
The council approved the purchase of the roll-off truck at a previous council meeting for $190,000, and subsequent to that, we actually purchased from cash the asset. The budget contemplated that it would be debt financed for in 2021. I've gone to a number of different institutions. Infrastructure Ontario appears to offer the best. They'll finance 100% of the asset. It's a used asset. Not all financial institutions will finance, the entire thing being a used one. They will. IO will. Infrastructure Ontario will. as you may recall, when we went for the presentation of the purchase of the truck and trailer, council, being specifically Councillor Barry McGibbon, suggested that, hey, you guys were looking in the model at a 10-year term. He suggested something less. We're talking 5 to 7. We're recommending we go 5 years in terms of the term. The most indicative interest rate at this point, just a few days ago, is 1.34%. In the model, it was 2%. And so I've initiated an application through Infrastructure Ontario. Obviously, this is part of the process to obtain, approval, et cetera, before we can kind of close out the application.
Thank you, Bill. Is there any questions? So, Bill, I did have one. I believe you did cover it in the report. So even with going to the shorter term, it still fits into all our parameters, et cetera.
Yeah, it really does by a wide margin. And we were just looking at a 5-year period. Certainly, even a 5-year period, it still is consistent with the recommendation that we made, or the Manager of Public Works made the month or 6 weeks or 2 months ago, whenever it was approved. It's in keeping with those recommendations, still economically viable and just.
Thank you. Thank you. All in favor? Passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item E, report for RFP 04-2021, 2500 series truck. Be it resolved, the council of the corporation of town of Bancroft is hereby approve the leasing, operating lease of 2 2500 series trucks as per RFP 04-2021. And further, council approve that the Manager of Public Works move forward will allow Ford to enter into a leasing program for the above 2 trucks. Could I have a mover and a seconder on that, please? Councillor Caulfield and Councillor Miles. And okay, between Perry and Bill, I guess I'm not sure who's speaking on this.
Good afternoon again, everyone. It's this is kind of a combined effort based on the capital previously approved by our council for the lease of 2 trucks. One would be for Public Works, which would replace the 2007 Chev diesel 3/4 ton, and the other one would replace, I believe, the 2010 GMC half ton for the Parks and Rec department. Between Pat, Bill, and myself, we issued an RFP statement for the acquisition of 2 trucks, 2 2500 series trucks that would be outfitted in a future date with snow plows. And we put that out, and we had we called our local dealers here to make them aware, and they were all aware of the RFP process that we have put out. We put it out as a twofold, either price the vehicles out per truck as a buyout price. Here's your check, here's your truck, or the lease options. We had one RFP answered us from Lally Ford, and they've come back with a quote for 2 trucks that we would lease, an operating lease, not a capital lease, for a different time frame of options, 4 years, which is the leasing operations, and there's an accumulative mileage for each truck for the total of the 4 years. So it's our recommendation, after seeing that Lally Ford has met all of the requirements within the RFP, to move forward with leasing of 2 trucks for the purpose of moving this capital adventure forward.
So, not to repeat, but we didn't get any bids from in town on this.
I spoke to all 3 local dealerships, made certain that they were aware of the RFP that was out. They all knew that the RFP was out. Well, one dealership was concerned about the the leasing option. Another dealer was concerned about getting 2022s instead of 2021s. I told both of them that if the RFP needed to be extended, we would gladly accommodate that. If they were worried about getting 21s and needed to get 22s, then we could also accommodate that as well. But I was specific in the RFP, and Bill and Pat both verified this, that we just asked for 2 new trucks to be leased. We didn't ask for 21s or 22s, knowing the circumstances that are out there at the moment with the COVID and how hard the vehicles are to get at this point in time.
Thank you. Any other questions for Perry on this? Seeing none, all in favor? Passed. Thank you, Perry.
Thank you.
Item F, Baseball for Dad Mental Health Week. Council request, be it resolved that Council of the Corporation of the Town of Bancroft is hereby approve of Baseball for Dad's request to hang green mental health awareness ribbons throughout our community between May 3rd, 2021 and May 9th, 2021 in support of Mental Health Week 2021. Could I have a mover and a seconder on this? Councillor Tracy McGibbon, Councillor Barry McGibbon. Would anybody like to comment on this? No. Seeing none, it's a good program and I applaud them for it. So all in favor? Thank you, passed. Item G, letter of concern, Bill C-21, be it resolved, the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Bancroft has hereby received a letter from Bancroft Fish and Game dated March 21st, 2021 for information purposes only. Could I have a mover and a seconder on this, please? Councillor Wiggins and a seconder. Councillor Caulfield, your hand you don't have a hand. It's only your wrist that I can see. Okay. Did anybody have any comment on this? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. Item H, rural internet and cancellation of blood donation site. Be it resolved that Council of the Corporation of Town of Bancroft is hereby received the rural internet and cancellation of blood donation site in Bancroft, dated, that should be letter, dated March 1st, 2021 for information purposes only. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please, on this? Councillor Wiggins and Councillor Caulfield. I don't know, I found this surprising because where the clinic is usually held, there is, to my knowledge, internet access at that particular location. Does anybody have any information on this? Councillor Wiggins.
Well, I don't have any information, but I agree. I think we should possibly send a letter off to this group. It's very important, especially now with blood donations, and we have a number in our area that are regular donators and have been for years. And to expect them to drive a couple hours away, invest 4 or 5 hours of a day, I think is asking a lot. And I do believe there is internet service there, or find another place in town. There is lots of, we're all using internet. So I think this is a bit of a, maybe a hearing or whatever.
Councillor Tracy McGibbon.
I was just reading it. It doesn't say that there isn't internet. It just says reliable. Yeah, I think the words they used were reliable and good internet service, which
we don't have anywhere.
Which is true.
Well, if you lived right in town like I do, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is where the clinic operates, is within, the town there. So, so my suggestion is, why don't we vote on this? And if you want to do another motion asking for a letter to be sent for them to clarify, Councillor Wiggins, we could do that. Are you okay with that?
I sure am. Yep.
Okay. So all in favor of the resolution on the table? Pass. Thank you. Councillor Wiggins, you'd like to put forth a resolution that we send a letter asking them to clarify their position and the fact that a reliable service could be made available somewhere.
Exactly. Okay. That'd be, and the fact that I'd like to also add in there that it is a very viable service or required service for our residents to be able to participate in the health system.
Okay. Could I have a seconder on that, please? Councillor Caulfield, all in favor? Oh, Councillor Caulfield, did you have a question or comment?
I
I
have
was
a
just going
question.
to comment that the Moose has actually posted a little bit more information just in the last few minutes about this.
Right.
And that there are more issues than just the connectivity identified in that posting, specifically with our remote location and shipping and stuff. So there may be more to it than just the cell phone signal. So I think that letter is well placed if there's something that we can do to help with that.
Okay. We'll have a look at that then and take it from there. Okay, thank you.
Question?
Yes, Deputy Mayor.
In that conversation with the services there, can we ask for a meeting with, or someone have a meeting? Because that's a service we don't want to lose. And I've heard other items too, that it's not just internet, but maybe there's something else that the town can help with. I don't know. But if we can get a dialogue going, that might be helpful.
Yeah, and as Councillor Caulfield just said, there's some more information on the Moose's site, maybe some other things. So yeah, we can add that to the letter. We can add that letter, that request to the letter. So, so all in favor? Thank you, passed. Okay, hang on, I need a sip of water before I read this one. National Volunteer Work, April 18th to 24th, 2021 proclamation. Whereas 12.7 million Canadians volunteers give their time to help others, contributing close to 2 billion volunteer hours per year. And whereas volunteers in the town of Bancroft mentor our children, feed our hungry, comfort our lonely, beautify our green spaces, and fundraise for our charitable organizations. And whereas volunteers in the town of Bancroft have stepped up during the COVID-19 pandemic to support families, friends, neighbors, and strangers, people standing up to pandemic racism, and people sharing insights on how to create a more just and equitable society. And whereas the town of Bancroft's volunteers are young, old, families, workers, retirees, men and women of all ages and backgrounds. And whereas the collective result of the work done by our city's volunteers is that the town of Bancroft is a more desirable place to live. And whereas organizations in the town of Bancroft that rely on volunteers include such fundamental organizations as Volunteers and Information's HPE, United Way HPE, North Hastings Community Cupboard, Care North Hastings, CDC, BCT Transit, Alzheimer's Society, Hastings Prince Edward, VON, Maggie's Resource Center, and North Hastings Hospital Auxiliary. Now therefore be it resolved that the council of the corporation of the town of Bancroft is hereby proclaimed April 18th to 24th, 2021 as National Volunteer Week, and urge our fellow citizens to recognize the crucial role played by volunteers in our community. Could I have a mover and a seconder on that, please? Councillor Barry McGibbon and Councillor Wiggins. Does anybody have any comment on that? Okay, well, we all know that many things would not be operating in this town and a lot of other places with volunteers. And also, it should be noted that many of our volunteers are getting older, and we really need to encourage some younger folks to get into it because we're seeing issues with many of our boards, et cetera, on this. So anyway, all in favor of the motion? Passed. Thank you. So item 12, consent agenda for information. So be it resolved that the items listed under the consent agenda, items 12B to 12T, be received by the corporation of the town of Bancroft for information. If everybody just wants to take a quick sec to look at those again, I'm sure you already have, just to see if there's anything that you wanted to have pulled out and dealt with separately. I'm just going back. I thought I had one. No, I don't. So is anybody, Councillor Wiggins?
I'm not sure if we want to pull it out, or I'd like to comment and add to maybe S, which is EOTA. And I'd also like to make a comment on the county update.
Doesn't EOTA show up again somewhere else, or am I wrong, or did I just read it there? Hang on, just let me have a quick peek here. No,
I believe it's only there, Your Worship.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. So Okay, can we put it on the table and just can you just comment on that one without pulling it out, Leanne?
Yeah, if we're gonna make a separate resolution, then we'll have to pull it out.
No, you're not making us, you just want to comment on it, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so could I have a mover and a seconder for Councillor Barry McGibbon and seconded by Councillor Caulfield? Yes, Councillor Wiggins, would you like to comment on item S?
Okay, thank you very much. I'd just like to expand on that, the letter that's in there, the press release which was sent out by our chair, Dave Giroux.
Can you talk closer to your mic? I'm sorry, Wayne.
Sorry about that, buddy. I'm not just sure what I got to do, but anyway.
There, I can hear you now.
Is that better now?
Yep, that's better.
I'd just like to comment that it was on the news release sent out by Dave Giroux, the fact that we have received a tremendous shot in the arm for over a 5-year period to improve the trails. From the feds, we got 1.2 million. From the province, a little over 1 million. And we as a club or as an association have to raise almost 900,000 for our share. That share will be contributed through other grant sources, municipal contributions, and the permit sales, which go to make up the remainder of that money. That's a lot of money for us to raise. So we do appreciate the municipal contributions to it, and the provincial will hopefully some future grants. But the big part is permit sales. So when you buy your permit for the trail, you are contributing to the way to keep it viable and open for everyone. So not only is it required, it's required for the financing too. And there is 21 bridges and structures along over the trail that are going to be worked on. And it also is 550 kilometers long. So anyway, we appreciate everybody's support and thank you very much.
Thank you. All in favor, please? Thank you, pass. Okay, so the next grouping is consent agenda items for support. Be it resolved, the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Bancroft is hereby support the items listed under the consent agenda, items 13B to 13E, and further that a letter of support be prepared to the appropriate minister organization outlining council support. Could I have a mover and a seconder on that, please? Councillor Miles and Councillor Barry McGibbon.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Can we pull E out, please? So you could go, I can vote if you pull E out on the consent agenda, and then E can have its own resolution.
Sure, we'll do that. So it'll be items 13B to D, and then an F all by its lonesome. Okay. Did we already put that on the table? I forget. Did we move and second that?
So,
Yep,
Councillor Miles, you did call her as a mover, which she can now do now that we've pulled E out.
Okay. Any comment on any of those? I just wanted to bring everybody's attention to item D, the City of Kitchener's letter of the Planning Act timelines. Good in one respect, but for this to happen, everybody's going to have to staff up and maybe get a second council to hear everything as well at the same time. So who knows? Just my comment on that. So all in favor? Thank you. So we now have item E, which is the seeking our support, the letter from QDAR. So yes, Councillor Miles. Well, actually, can I have a mover and a seconder to put this on the table, please? This one item. Councillor Caulfield, and seconded by Deputy Mayor. And Councillor Miles, would you like to just sort of give us a little background and explanation, please? You're muted.
Sure. The As many, maybe people are aware, maybe they're not, because organized real estate is not important to everybody every day. However, the Bancroft and Association of Realtors has dissolved and is no longer in our neighborhood. As a result, within the province, there are what are called jurisdictional boundaries. And so the Quinte Association of Realtors is where some of the realtors went. And so we are working towards getting the jurisdictional boundaries redrawn. So this is just a letter stating why we believe there's a good reason for it to go forward. This is something that the boards work out themselves. So it's really just looking at letting all of the municipalities know that Quinte is in the process of trying to acquire the jurisdictional area, and we thought we would reach out for letters of support.
So a question I have, Councillor Miles, did some realtors go with the Peterborough board? Is that what happened?
Yep, they did. Yep.
So can two different groups have jurisdiction, or will it be just one?
Yeah, no, they cannot. No, it will just be one or the other, or it'll stay in no man's land. It will, no, it cannot go to two boards. The jurisdictional boundaries are drawn, and you know the map looks a certain way. There are some strategies that talk about maybe cutting it in half, but our other governing bodies do not, they would never cut a municipality in half ever. And how do you ever sort of decide about that? So this is, and Peterborough may very well feel that they should have the jurisdictional boundaries. That's their call and how they would like to look at it. But I don't sit there. I sit at Quinte, and I'm the committee chair of what is called our FIT, the Future Initiatives Task Force. And so we just sort of felt that this was another piece of the strategy. We are putting together in the event, and if two different associations want the jurisdictional boundaries, which is sort of the situation that we're in, and we can't resolve this ourselves like good brothers and sisters, then we might likely end up sitting in front of an adjudicator. And so this brings information one way or the other to sit in front of the adjudicator. And Quinte feels that there is a lot of good reason why this jurisdictional boundary should go to Quinte. Makes a lot of sense. It's in Hastings. Our schools are aligned, our healthcare is aligned, our housing is aligned, the dirt's aligned. We are in Hastings County, same place as Quinte. And so this is what this letter is. And Quinte has sent a letter to all the 7 municipalities in North Hastings, as well as Renfrew and Highlands East, because that's where the jurisdictional boundary was before. South Algonquin as well.
Thank you. Is there any questions on this? Councillor Caulfield.
Probably more for interest than anything. If one of those realtors who chose to align with Peterborough, like, is there an implication to them with us approving this letter? Are they still allowed to sell real estate here, or what are the implications for them?
Yeah, none whatsoever. Realtors are licensed to trade in the province. I can sell real estate in downtown Toronto, middle of Ottawa, and all the way out into Windsor. It has no implication whatsoever with how anybody trades in real estate.
Thank you.
So I have a question for the clerk.
Yes.
Have we received any similar requests from the Peterborough board?
We have not, no.
And if we did receive any similar requests from the Peterborough board, would there be any issue with us endorsing 2 letters?
We are kind of indicating support for one board and with support for this letter. I'm just looking at it again, but
if I may comment, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I certainly understand and see that this is sometimes for council, you might not want to get in the the middle of a dog fight with, other professions that are within your neighborhood. And it won't be any surprise at all that some councils may make a decision that they don't want to respond to this. That makes very good sense. And as I sit here wearing two hats, which is why I won't vote on this and I have recused myself, it's very reasonable to understand that, you may not want to make a decision. This has been from the approach of that board, from what they do for a living, of what their strategy is. It does not mean that there is any reason, it's very reasonable to say, run along on your business. Don't worry about it. We're not going to make a decision one way or the other. Or you may say sure to both letters. I mean, I don't think that what we put in a letter as a response at the end of the day may or may not have any relevance whatsoever. This is what their strategy is, building and moving forward. And if this council said, if you said you didn't want to get in the middle of sort of this circumstance, it would certainly be understood.
Do you have any information with respect to the percentage that have gone with this board versus the other board?
Pretty much 50-50.
Oh, yeah. You're not making this any easier, are you?
The only thing I would say is that if you want to look at the structure of organizations and you are a believer in governance and the way that associations are built and the way they function, the group that made the decision to go to Peterborough, they did that all of their own, which they have every right to do. They individually, each one of them just wrote a letter to the Bancroft board and said, we are making a decision to leave this area and we're going to go and join another association, which they have 100% the right to do. It then left the Bancroft board still here, still functioning, still with a board of directors, still making decisions every day. And it was as an organized group that the remaining realtors who were here made a decision to move to Quinte, and actually went through some what is considered language of merging, amalgamating, and moving forward there. Some of the timing was a little bit funny, so the membership just decided to move forward. So if it depends on, if you were to look at this from a position of, do I believe in the governance of an association making a decision? The association did make a decision to go to Quinte. Those other realtors, well within their rights, made a decision to move on their own. So that would be the only defining piece, but it was pretty much 50-50. Same with number of offices, number of realtors, all that decision was pretty much cut right down the middle. And the board was still here. After those realtors left, the board operated for about 2 months, 6 to 8 weeks, 2 months, something like that.
Right. And then that entity is now trying to align, the remaining entity is trying to align with Quinte.
Well, that entity is no longer even
right.
Well,
what was, okay.
Yes. But
Deputy Mayor.
But part of the process was at the end of the day that, the expectation was the board would be, we would amalgamate or merge with Quinte. That was made as a decision.
Councilor Miles, the question I've got is the average resident or person in our area really wouldn't make any difference to them, whether it's Belleville or Peterborough?
No, doesn't care doesn't care one bit. Doesn't even probably even know about most of this stuff.
Exactly. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So just want to clarify once more to the clerk that if we did receive a letter, there would be nothing from the other association. There would be nothing preempting us from endorsing it as well.
Sorry, my mouse was freezing.
I thought you were pondering.
The way that I read it, and I think if I could infer from what Councillor Miles is saying, is that if the council decides to support this, they're indicating support for this board as the board covering our community.
Okay. Okay, guys. I will call for a vote. So approval of this is as it states. Turning it down does not endorse the other board in any manner. It just does not you want to get into, as Councillor Miles has said, the dogfight. So all those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2. I'm going to call for the no's just so I can count that. So those opposed. 1, 2, 3. Okay. My vote would mean nothing at this point, would it?
No, your vote would indicate a tied vote, so the motion would be defeated.
Right, right. So, which means nothing. Okay, so motion defeated. Thank you. Okay.
Could I just ask, did everyone, so we tried to move some things that we would normally have as business items for support to a consent agenda format. Did that work? Did you like that?
As long as we can pull out like
Yeah.
we did with this one, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. We'll continue doing that because we're getting more and more requests.
Yeah.
So to keep them all together and save some time, we'll continue to do it that way.
Yeah. So my closing comment on this, Councillor Miles, and I know you already know this is not endorsing. It's just the fact that we as lay people don't have the information that would probably be required to know what is best for the area as a whole.
Completely understood, Mayor, and completely respectful of council. This is, it's sort of weird that I'm sitting here having this conversation. If I wasn't a councillor, we still would have taken this process. It still would have happened. It's the politics of real estate, and this is, we have lots of politics within the other hat that I wear as a realtor brings a lot of politics to the table as well. So I completely understand. And as I said, this was just a strategy that we brought forward. It won't surprise me if other municipalities react the same way. You do your best to try and bring forward what you believe is best for your association, the same as we all sit here bringing what we think is best forward for our community.
Very well put. Thank you. Okay. Item 14, community announcement and events. Gosh, I'm hoping there's going to be a day when we have some of these. Is there anything anybody would like to comment on whatsoever on anything? This is your forum to do so. Okay, well, Councillor Barry, thank you.
You know what? There are a lot of things we can't do, but something I think that we need to do. People need to get out with a stick and a nail and a garbage bag and walk the sides of our roads. I can't get over how much litter there is on the sides of our roads. And you know what? We can clean up our community without breaking any COVID rules, and it would just make our community look a little better. So I think that's a community event that everybody could participate in, and it would lead to a good result.
Thank you. Well, yeah, good idea. Well put. Okay, thank you. Okay, item 15, bylaws, first, second, and third reading. Be it resolved that the following bylaws be introduced and read a first, second, and third time and be finally passed, that the mayor and the clerk do sign and seal the same, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. Bylaw number 25-2021 being a bylaw to amend Schedule A to bylaw number 03-2019, being a bylaw to appoint community members to various boards, committees, and commissions for the town of Bancroft. Bylaw number 26-2021 being a bylaw to authorize the corporation of the town of Bancroft to enter into a transfer payment agreement with Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario for the fire safety grant. Bylaw number 27-2021 being a bylaw to authorize the corporation of the town of Bancroft to enter into a letter of agreement with Her Majesty the Queen in right of the province of Ontario to the municipalities under the dedicated gas tax funds for public transportation programs. Bylaw number 28-2021, a bylaw to approve the submission of an application to Ontario Infrastructure and Lands Corporation for the long-term financing of certain capital works of the corporation of the town of Bancroft, and to authorize the entering into of a rate offer letter agreement pursuant to which the municipality will issue debentures to OILC. Bylaw number 29-2021 being a bylaw to authorize the closing and conveyance of a portion of the 66-foot road allowance. Bylaw number 30-2021 being a bylaw to authorize the corporation of the town of Bancroft to enter into an agreement to convey as one parcel with Donald John Grimshaw and Louise Mary Grimshaw. Bylaw number 31- it says 5021. I'm assuming that's supposed to be 2021. Being a bylaw to establish a building property and bylaws committee and to appoint members to the building property and bylaw committee for the town of Bancroft. Could I have a mover and a seconder on that, please? Deputy Mayor and Councillor Wiggins. And for all of those who aren't aware with respect to the last bylaw, the members of that committee are Councillor Miles, Deputy Mayor Mullet, to be chaired by Councillor Wiggins. Thank you. Did I get a mover and a seconder? Gosh, I'm forgetting already.
Yeah, you did.
I did. Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. And we'll be having a closed session. So I'd like to call a 5-minute recess, please, before we do